Now that I have your attention, I want to announce something. I finally have a P.O. box. Once a month I will do a live stream where I open it all, and that will also end up as a video on the channel. So send me everything you got at this address below my face, and let's overload my local postal service, because the P.O. box is tiny, so we can easily do that. Now, as we all know, King Boo is quite a well-known villain in the series. He is seen in a ton of games after all, with Mario Kart being one of his small roles, and the Luigi's Mansion series as one of the big ones. However, after encountering him countless times, we have never even thought about one extremely important thing. Where does he even come from? Who is he really? Since he must have come from somewhere, or maybe he even used to be an actual person before he became what he is now. So today, we will finally take a real look at this haunting villain to find out what his origin is, and maybe this will finally explain a lot of mystery surrounding this being. Now to start off, what is King Boo actually? And what do we know about him? Well, we know very little. He is known as the leader of the Boos and Ghosts, even being known as the ruler of the paranormal dimension. He's also an ally of Bowser, who has aided him in various schemes, but he is more than capable of devising and enacting villainous plans by himself. His abilities far surpass that of the average ghost, having a number of impressive magical abilities, including the ability to materialize objects. And his magical power is directly proportional to the number of Boos in his vicinity. Besides that, we know where we can find him a lot, which is Boo Woods. But when it comes to more personal information, we have nothing. His age? Nope, nothing has been said about that. But what about his place of origin? Yet again, no info. All we know is that Boo Woods is the place where we first saw him. So with little to no information, how are we going to figure out where this ghost lord came from? Well, there's some general information we can use to give us an idea of where to look. Because Goombario's title for the Boo Igor in Paper Mario states, he was probably a merchant before he became a Boo, implying that current Boos may have once been living beings. And yes, for today's subject we are going to use spin-off games, since this enemy is almost exclusively seen in such games. So leaving those out would make it borderline impossible. But with this new information we can at least start looking in the right direction. King Boo used to be some sort of living being before, but what kind, and who was he when he was still alive? Well, after looking into the possible options related to his characteristics, role in the games, and overall look, I found something interesting. An option that makes a lot of sense and could very well be possible. And the best thing about it is that it would fit well in the overall story and even adds to it all. Because I want to look at a couple of characters seen in Super Mario Bros. 3 that Mario ends up saving time and time again. The Kings, who are monarchs of the various lands of the Mushroom World. 7 of them are featured in Super Mario Bros. 3, and each was turned into a different creature by the koopalings so they could take over the kingdom. Now in the games, these kings don't really have any names, but more info on them was given in some Super Mario TV shows, however, we can't really use those. All we know is that they are leaders of certain parts of the Mushroom World, just like Peach is. They all had a powerful magic wand called the Royal Magic Wand, and these were used to transform them. However, could it be that King Boo used to be one of these kings, and due to certain circumstances became a Boo? It would explain why he is the leader of the ghosts, and has a crown as well. He used to be a ruler after all. And even the magic wands that these kings have make sense. That's because our favorite Ghost Lord also has some quite insane magical powers that the Mario brothers have dealt with time and time again. For example, he has enough power to blow Luigi to the foyer when enough Boos are in the mansion. Or his ability to materialize things, including pulling a highly detailed mansion out of the ghost dimension, and creating lifelike paranormal replicas of some Mario enemies. But there's one ability that creates a good connection between the magic wands from the kings and King Boo. He can regenerate from his crown in Super Princess Peach, and in his crown, we can often see a very interesting gem that might remind you of something. The magic wand's vividly colored gems, and this is where the spell blasts are released from. So maybe this gem that King Boo has is just that. We can see it in both the first and second Luigi's Mansion game, and he even shoots a beam from it in the Dark Moon game. Although to be fair, we don't see it in every game, but that doesn't mean he can't have it somewhere else, or even inside of him. It could even be that he at some point fused it together with his crown, so it could very well be that one of these kings eventually became the ruler of all the ghosts in the series. However, how could this have happened, and which king turned into King Boo? Well, let's start with the first point. For this, there's one quite obvious answer, and it's not a pretty one, to be honest. Remember how I mentioned a little bit ago that the koopalings stole the wands and transformed the kings into all kinds of creatures? Well, they did this because their leader Bowser wanted to take over these kingdoms using brute force. He was basically conquering the entire region. Now in the end, you stop him in the game and save all these leaders from the horrible fate of being the creatures they were turned into. But this means that Bowser never really got what he wanted, only for a short amount of time. So maybe he finished the job at some point. We have never seen these so-called kings again in any of the games, main series or spin-off. Sure, we have seen other kingdoms, but these specific leaders sort of disappeared. So maybe Bowser ended up killing them all in order to get what he wanted. We can even see the koopalings with the same magic wands, while there wasn't a king in sight to steal them from. But I have to say, Magic Koopas also have them, so maybe they got these from them. But still, it would make sense, and we know that Bowser has dark magic powers that are even strong enough to raise the dead. So maybe he created King Boo out of one of these former leaders using his powers, making for a great ally. It would be kind of similar to the Nazguls from Lord of the Rings, who were also tricked into becoming vile creatures. This would also explain why there's such a close connection between the two, as seen in Luigi's mansion, and why they even work together at all. Now of course there could have been other reasons, but as far as I could find, this option with Bowser seems to be the best one. However, now the second question is still left. Which king ended up becoming King Boo? Well, for this I would say let's look at the color gem that King Boo uses and find the king that matches it with his magic wand. However, the problem with this is that we have seen King Boo use two different color gems, which makes it a bit tricky, making the wands of the Kings of Water and Giant Land the most fitting. However, which of the two eventually became King Boo is still extremely vague, but at least we have an idea. So overall, this is certainly possible. But I want to tackle some criticism that would certainly pop up in the comment section. The fact that the events of this game are considered by Shigeru Miyamoto to be a stage play put on by the Mario cast. Now, this is straight from the source, so we can't dismiss it. But I will say that in the remakes, many of the stage play-esque elements, such as shadows being cast onto the backgrounds, are no longer present. So take it all with a grain of salt, since they don't seem to go for this idea completely. But I at least wanted to mention it. However, I also have another good option of who he is and where he came from. But it's a bit lame and extremely vague. Because in the second Luigi's Mansion game, Dark Moon, we see a place known as the Paranormal Dimension. Ghosts can freely transfer between this place and the Mushroom Kingdom by creating portals, with larger portals being created by more powerful ghosts. This place is known as the homeworld of ghosts, like greenies, slammers, hiders, and more. However, it's not specifically mentioned that this is the case for King Boo as well. You go to this place when you try to take out King Boo in the final battle of the game. So it could also be that he originally came from here and is just the ruling entity of the world. A bit like the golden goddesses of Hyrule or Shigeru Miyamoto for the gaming industry. However, it doesn't explain a lot and leaves a ton of questions behind, as you could imagine. So really, it's an answer, but not a good one. But now, it's all up to you. Do you think one of these kings actually became King Boo, or that he's from another dimension completely? Or even something different? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and maybe one day, Nintendo might actually explain some things. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to click the annotations on the screen right now. Also be sure to subscribe and click the bell button, because more videos are coming.